This is Jiro. Jiro runs one of the most famous sushi restaurants in Tokyo. And in this video, you can see Jiro making sushis by hand. He has perfected this process over a very long period of time, and people come to his restaurant just to taste these sushis. It's a beautiful recipe, and he takes a lot of pleasure and pride in making the exact recipe by hand. That's the first video which I want to show you today. The second video which I want to show you today is this. This is Here you can see that there is a color which is called as ultramarine blue, right? And earlier, around several centuries back, it was incredibly difficult to find this color. It was incredibly difficult to find rocks which look like this color. We could find this only in certain parts of Afghanistan. So you have to get these rocks, you have to crush them, as is what being shown over here. Once you crush them, they become a powder, and then you mix this powder with water, and then it becomes a paint. This is how the ultramarine blue color paint was utilized many centuries back, and that's why this color was exceptionally rare. And paintings such as these, which were made in 1400s, 1500s, etc., were made from the ultramarine blue color. These were extremely rich paintings because the mineral itself was very, very, very hard to get. So if you see a painting in ultramarine blue color, that was supposed to be incredible. That's the second thing which I want to show you. The third thing which I want to show you is about movies. In 1962, there was a movie released called Lawrence of Arabia, and it's considered one of the best films ever made. This film was shot in a desert, and it was very, very difficult at that time to shoot this. You'll see in this video that this is a 145-minute video in which it's shown how hard it was shooting in the desert. They had to literally arrange everything by themselves. They had to bring in the camels over there. The heat was a lot. They had to assemble the cameras at a certain angle because the wind was moving very, very, very fast. You can see so many people, so much equipment, and the director had to manage all of these things at a time. The result was an incredible movie which people still remember. In 1962, it was very, very tough to see things like this on the big screen. What's common across these three things which I showed you right now? First, I showed you a man who takes a lot of pride in hand crafting sushis, which is making sushis by hand and loving this process, which ultimately people love. The second thing which I showed you is this entire journey of how we can get the ultramarine rock from Afghanistan and then smash the rock, mix water into it, get the ultramarine paint, and then make beautiful paintings out of it. It's a very long process. And the third thing is Lawrence of Arabia, how hard it was to shoot this film in the desert and then bring it out on the big screen. But one thing which I want to emphasize out of all of these three, these are different forms of art. First is cooking, second is painting, and third is movies. Different types of arts. But when people go through a huge amount of effort to make certain art form, it becomes beautiful. People literally traverse different continents to go to this restaurant to taste these sushis. In those times when you saw the ultramarine painting, you were stunned by the beauty of such a dark blue color. It just transfixed you. When people saw Lawrence of Arabia, they thought the film was beautiful. They had not seen something like this. So when you put manual effort into art, art becomes beautiful. And then you stop and then you wonder, what's this incredible piece of art which I have seen? But what happens with every piece of art is that technology comes in and technology reduces the beauty of that art. And let's take these same examples and let's see how technology came in and destroyed the beauty of art forms, right? First, let's consider food. What happened with food? Fast food came into the picture, everything by hand instead of having these meticulous handcrafted recipes in which ingredients were assembled in a specific manner, they were molded in a specific manner. Suddenly there were these big factories which were there, and mass production started. Burgers started being mass produced in factories. You could literally find a McDonald's in every city, in every town. So suddenly people could just find the same things which were obtained here in a quick manner, right? Now you see a momos stall everywhere. Here, these things made the importance of handcrafting something much less in value. Fast food completely destroyed the effort which people put in to make beautiful food, to source the ingredients from a specific manner, to have a specific recipe. Let's say you are in a small town in Italy, right? And there is a famous recipe which your grandmother has curated, and only she knows the recipe. The joy of getting that recipe from her and eating it is so different than going to McDonald's and eating a standard recipe, right? But fast food changed everything. The second example is with respect to ultramarine blue. What happened is that in 19th century we figured out how to make this in the lab, how to make synthetic ultramarine in the lab. Now you could mix a bunch of chemicals and make ultramarine. And then making ultramarine paintings suddenly became very common. And so the beauty which people had when they saw these dark blue ultramarine paintings was completely lost. Why was it lost? Because now it was very common to see these dark blue paintings, right? You can just make ultramarine chemical in ultramarine using a synthetic process in a lab, and anyone can make these paintings. The beauty is lost because it's not rare anymore. The third example is, of course, with respect to movies, right? And CGI came into the picture with this green screen. Now suddenly you could show things artificially. On the left hand side is the movie Dune, which was released in 2021. On the right hand side is Lawrence of Arabia. This is completely shot naturally, right? But this left one is shot using VFX. Computers generate backgrounds which can be added, and honestly after a certain point it's difficult to tell the difference between these two. So the beauty of actually going to a desert and shooting there with custom locations, with people, with camels, with actual camels, with the actual desert background, the beauty of that is lost, because now you can easily recreate it in your office by using a green screen. So the technology of CGI destroyed the beauty of natural film shooting. The technology of synthetic chemicals destroyed the beauty you had when you saw an ultramarine painting. And the technology of fast food and big production manufacturing lines completely destroyed the beauty of real homemade delicious food which is handcrafted by people for generations. So technology comes in and reduces the beauty of art. Now let's take a look at what happened with OpenAI and Studio Ghibli. I can go to OpenAI right now and I can say make a Studio Ghibli style image of many people on a train platform. And let's see what OpenAI replies, right? I'm going to chat GPT 4.5 right now, and I have asked this prompt that make a Studio Ghibli style image. Okay, I'll need to switch to GPT 4o, I think, right? So let me go to GPT 4o and ask this same thing. Immediately, GPT 4o has started constructing this. We'll wait for some time and let me show you the result which will eventually be generated. So you'll see that about 20% of this image has been generated so far, and slowly more and more and more of the image is being generated. Right now we are almost at 30%, it looks like. All right, so it seems that we are at 50% right now, and slowly, the entire image is generated. See, An entire image is generated now in which there are characters in a Studio Ghibli style on a train platform. Now I want to show you one thing. Take a look at this one scene. It's actually from a film from Studio Ghibli. There are multiple characters here on a train platform. This is a 4-second scene, so let me just play it. This is a 4-second scene in which characters are moving about, right? Do you know how much time it take to make this scene by Studio Ghibli? It took 1 year and 3 months for this scene to complete. Why did it take this much time? Because every single frame of this scene is hand drawn by artists. All the effort which we saw over here, the effort to make the food, the effort to source the material for this painting, the effort to shoot a film in the desert, it's the same effort which we are talking about here. The effort to hand draw every single scene for this 4-second scene, right? So if it's 24 frames per second, for 4 seconds, it's 96 images. And to draw 96 images with all of these people over here is incredibly hard. All of these are hand drawn. But I generated this same image. I know it's not of the same quality, but it looks like I have a Studio Ghibli style people on the train platform, right? So here also a technology has come in which has destroyed the beauty associated with this process of creating animated characters by manual effort. And the main thing to note here is that the AI generated images may not ever be of the same exact quality as the hand drawn images, but that's not the point. Even fast food is not maybe as tasty as the actual recipes, the manual recipes. Maybe the synthetic ultramarine painting, which you see over here, is not as good as the ultramarine paint sourced from an actual rock in Afghanistan. And maybe using VFX, it's not as good as the Lawrence of Arabia. But that's not the point because as long as it looks roughly similar, as long as the video looks roughly similar with VFX and without VFX, as long as the painting looks roughly similar to the original one, as long as the food is kind of okay, people are usually fine with it. The kind of okay is the important here, right? Is the important phrase. People are lazy. If they get something, they'll go ahead with it even if it's not 100% quality. Of course there will be that small portion of the population who will always go to taste sushis from zero, who will always want to buy paintings only from an original source and not from synthetic chemicals, who will always see films which are not made using VFX. But 80 to 90% of the population is okay with kind of equivalent. So here the images look kind of the same, right? So we are fine with it. And this is another example where a technology has come in and completely disrupted the beauty of art. But this should not surprise us because this has been going on for a very long period of time in every single artistic field which you take. So if you see, here I have written a section how AI normalizes art and destroys its beauty. And in the food, fast food came in and destroyed the beauty of this manual recipes. Paintings, right? Digital paintings, synthetic chemicals, all of these came in and destroyed the beauty of taking 12 months or 5 years to make a painting yourself by creating the materials yourself, by actually going to the location, looking around you, and painting. VFX destroyed the beauty of cinema. Even music, right? Imagine going to listen to concerts of an actual singer. Instead of that, now people just put on Spotify and listen to the music. So technology has again disrupted the joy of actually going to the singer's event and listening in person. Similarly, what has happened is that with the Studio Ghibli uh, creation with OpenAI, they have destroyed the beauty of how much time artists actually took to assemble this, right? So here is a meeting of the Studio Ghibli people, and they actually evaluate each of their frames, frame by frame. They check whether it's good or not. That's why people love their films. Will AI ever do such kind of a detailed evaluation? Not at all. But that's not the point because many people are lazy and they are okay with kind of similar things as long as they get it in a faster and cheaper manner. But there will be always that section of the society who like to get access to the natural things, to the good things. So the main thing is, as technology advances, art gets standardized. And what does it mean standardized? It means that you don't feel it beautiful anymore, because the more you see a thing, it's not that great. Earlier, the only time you saw these Studio Ghibli kind of images were when you go to the film and watch it. But now you see it everywhere, so the beauty is reduced. Ultramarine, earlier it was beautiful because it was hard to get it, so when you see it, you know it's rare. But now it's everywhere. Films, now you can just shoot films in your office and make it look like it's being shot in a desert, right? So the beauty of actually shooting in the real location is kind of lost. Of course, some people will always understand it, but a majority won't. And the sad truth of art is that as technology progresses, we have to coexist in a world where such kind of cheap imitations of art, such kind of cheap imitations of art, where let's say VFX is used, etc. Many people think CGI ruined movies. So such cheap imitations like these fast food chains, or where a VFX is used, or um, when synthetic chemicals are used, digital paintings are created in a quick manner. Chat GPT is used to make quick images. Such form of cheap art, the reason I say cheap is because it's created quickly. Such form of cheap art will always coexist with the beautiful art, which takes a huge amount of time to create, and that's the real place where you can derive joy, right? These two will always coexist together with each other. So the real issue is not whether OpenAI should steal what Studio Ghibli has made, whether it's right or wrong, because if they want to do it, they are going to do it. The real thing is to note that technology has been disrupting the beauty of art for a long period of time. And eventually we need to coexist with cheap art and real art. And that's the way life has been progressing in all artistic forms. So there is hope at the end of the tunnel, right? It's not all sad that will we always live in a world where synthetic creations are made using AI. AI is going to get better and better, so these creations are going to be there, but it's every human's responsibility to try to find those avenues which offer the real stuff. Try to go to restaurants and actually eat from a place where people have handmade these recipes themselves. They take time to curate these recipes, because that's the joy of the human experience, which an AI will never be able to simulate. So if you see the Reddit comments over here, it's actually pretty interesting, right? uh, it will take over for AI will take over for people, but honestly there will always be a market for human made, because it's better and always will be. The Studio Ghibli made by AI feels like it completely lacks soul. For some audiences that's critical. We will pay more and wait longer, we don't need AI slop. So that's the kind of thing which I also think, right? Whatever AI makes, ultimately the things made by human, there will always be some more beauty which is associated with it. And the discussion which they set up is pretty interesting, right? A vast majority of people don't really care. So they will consume AI art even if it's not the real thing. So here's another interesting comment, right? So My Neighbor Totoro is a film by Studio Ghibli, and here the person is arguing that the artists who made My Neighbor Totoro knows how it feels, or what it feels like to get lost and lonely as a child, and that's why we love watching that film. And AI will never know how that feels. It will never get it, and that's why AI creations will never be as good as human creations, because AI does not have emotions, it does not have soul. So the takeaway from this video is that don't be disheartened. We need to learn how to coexist with AI creations, and take time to stop and pause for human generated beauty, whether it's music, whether it's paintings, whether it's food, any kind of art which humans have created. Take a moment to stop and take in the beauty. Thanks a lot, everyone. I hope you like this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.